The millionaire discovered his pregnant wife had been drugged by his mistress. The moment had passed. It is often said that love has the power to obscure one's vision. However, what about finances? Wealth has the power to transform the purest of loves into a fierce struggle marked by avarice, treachery, and hopelessness. In this tale, we delve into the opulent life of a millionaire named Ethan Davenport, his loyal and expectant wife, Charlotte, and a scheming mistress named Vanessa, who is determined to seize his wealth at any cost. When affection, ambition, and jealousy intertwine beneath the shine of affluence, the depths of the repercussions can be unfathomable. Prepare yourself, for this is a story steeped in treachery, concealed motives, and the chilling instant when everything spirals out of control. Charlotte Davenport stood by the window of her sunlit bedroom, one delicate hand resting on the curve of her pregnant belly, the other lifting the lace curtain to gaze down the driveway. At 6 months, she could already sense the life moving within her, a gentle reminder of the future she and her husband, Ethan, had carefully envisioned together. The morning light poured into the room, casting a warm glow on her features. Her serene hazel eyes and gentle smile conveyed a depth of excitement that words could hardly capture. The vast expanse of the Davenport estate's lawn in Bel Air, situated close to the renowned Hotel Bel Air, sparkled with morning dew, reflecting the luxury and ease that enveloped her. From afar, the rumble of a luxury car engine announced Ethan's arrival from a morning business engagement. He was the kind of husband who delighted in surprising Charlotte with little gestures of love, flowers from a nearby florist, a novel he believed she would cherish, or even a warm cup of freshly roasted decaf coffee, mindful of her pregnancy. She experienced a flutter in her stomach, an emotional response that harmonized beautifully with the gentle kicks of their unborn child. 5 years ago, the Davenport tale began with a tempestuous love affair. Charlotte worked as an events coordinator at a luxury hotel in downtown Los Angeles, facing the challenge of paying off her student loans from UCLA while also caring for her ailing father. Ethan, the affluent business mogul, was the one orchestrating the charity gala at that hotel. Electricity crackled in the air from the instant their eyes locked. Charlotte's kind spirit and unwavering resolve complemented Ethan's drive and empathy beautifully. He didn't start out wealthy, having grown up in a humble neighborhood close to West Hollywood. Ethan had battled fiercely to transform his small software startup into a global powerhouse, achieving a net worth that surpassed 9 figures. They tied the knot just 2 years into their relationship. In a quaint and refined gathering, they pledged their love to one another. Their love story appeared, to any observer, as steadfast as the very walls of the mansion itself. Charlotte allowed the curtain to settle back into its rightful position and glided toward the bedroom door, her fingers lingering on her abdomen. She sensed the baby stir with enthusiasm, a poignant reminder that the life within her was undeniably real. The car engine's hum faded away, giving way to the sound of Ethan's voice resonating in the foyer. She glided down the gleaming marble stairs, met by the warm smile of her husband. He wore an expression of relief and triumph, the kind that inevitably followed the successful conclusion of a significant agreement. "What's going on with that expression?" Charlotte playfully taunted. Ethan leaned closer, gently placing a kiss on her forehead. "The real estate acquisition has been successfully completed. If all proceeds as intended, we will enhance the Davenport portfolio with another robust addition." Charlotte playfully tapped his shoulder, a teasing reprimand in her gesture. "You put in a lot of effort. Your weekends are hijacked by these offers." Ethan let out a soft laugh. "This endeavor will prove to be valuable. Additionally, I intend to assign the majority of the routine responsibilities to my team. I wish to share moments with you and our precious child." In that instant, everything felt just right. A lovely abode, an impending arrival, and a bond that has endured the trials of time and aspiration. It never occurred to Charlotte that, hidden within the halls of affluence and authority, jealousy thrived. It never crossed Ethan's mind that, despite his sincere efforts, a person near him could be concealing hidden agendas. In the intricate maze of affluence, the distinctions among friends, colleagues, and opportunists frequently become indistinct. The landscape Ethan traversed required constant awareness, with business partners masquerading as allies and social aspirants posing as companions. Among all those in his orbit, one individual had effortlessly bypassed his defenses: Vanessa Caldwell. Vanessa met Ethan thanks to a shared friend at a charity event held at the Four Seasons Hotel in Beverly Hills. She was enchanting, statuesque, with deep black hair and a dazzling smile that drew everyone in. She had recently embarked on her journey with a public relations consultancy, a modest firm brimming with ambitious dreams. Initially, her intellect and allure appeared to be eclipsed solely by her determination to achieve greatness. Ethan was convinced that she could enhance the public perception of his burgeoning business empire, leading him to sign a contract with her PR firm that would ultimately prove to be one of his gravest errors. At the outset, Vanessa showcased a relentless dedication to her craft that garnered Ethan's admiration. She skillfully arranged charitable events that highlighted the Davenport brand as more than a profit-driven entity, emphasizing its commitment to community support. She worked alongside Charlotte to organize a charity luncheon, resulting in numerous discussions between the two. Charlotte, while somewhat wary of newcomers, chose to focus on the positive aspects of Vanessa, especially since Ethan frequently commended her dedication and hard work. Yet, underneath Vanessa's refined facade, jealousy bubbled quietly. She recognized Charlotte's residence, the cherished spouse, anticipating a treasured offspring, residing in an opulent abode, and revered as a compassionate socialite. Vanessa yearned for that existence, or at the very least, something akin to it. She had been raised in an environment marked by a harmful dynamic within her family. Her father, a man of substantial wealth, chose to leave her mother for a younger woman, thereby forsaking them both. From that moment on, Vanessa promised herself that she would never find herself on the losing side of such a scenario. She would seize the reins, claiming what she desired, regardless of the repercussions. What Vanessa desired at this moment was Ethan Davenport. She felt an attraction that went beyond his considerable wealth. It was his kindness, his understated confidence, and the aura of security he radiated that truly captivated her. As she gazed at Charlotte, a vision of a life unfolded before her, one that, in her imagination, might have been her own had she only come sooner. She convinced herself that destiny had orchestrated a harsh deception. Ethan ought to have been unattached and on the lookout for the right companion the moment Vanessa stepped into his world. A part of her genuinely felt that Ethan would find greater happiness with her, someone who grasped the complexities of business, who could devise strategies and make plans, who wouldn't simply embrace a life of domestic tranquility. She viewed Charlotte's pregnancy as a fragile link, something that would bind Ethan to his wife and child indefinitely, creating no space for someone like Vanessa to enter. Charlotte, blissfully ignorant of the undercurrents of betrayal taking root in Vanessa's thoughts, maintained her unwavering trust in her. They communicated regarding forthcoming events, color palettes, floral designs, and charitable themes. Whenever Charlotte needed to assign tasks related to public image or event management, she would reach out to Vanessa for assistance. However, an understated tension emerged. On multiple occasions, following phone calls or meetings, Charlotte found herself departing with an unsettling sensation in her stomach, an elusive feeling she couldn't fully identify. She could have linked it to the fluctuations of pregnancy hormones or the weight of stress. Each time she attempted to discuss it with Ethan, pointing out how Vanessa could occasionally be excessively focused on him, or how her compliments seemed to cross a line, Ethan would dismiss her concerns. Vanessa is merely fulfilling her responsibilities, he would assert. She works in public relations. It's truly her role to ensure that people feel valued. Charlotte, always trusting of her husband, pushed her worries aside. She convinced herself it was simply jealousy or the nerves of an awaiting mother. She remained unaware that those brief doubts were the whisper of her instincts attempting to alert her to an approaching tempest that would shatter her existence. Vanessa started to devise her strategy through subtle acts of disruption. It began with subtle hints, coaxing Ethan to immerse himself in dazzling social gatherings disguised as networking opportunities, all the while leaving Charlotte at home, either alone or preoccupied with prenatal appointments. She frequently praised Ethan, declaring he was the catalyst that allowed her to thrive as a PR specialist, pretending to be grateful to gain his approval. She also proposed to visit the estate to help Charlotte with charitable endeavors. Charlotte viewed these visits as generous gestures and appreciated the additional support, while Vanessa took advantage of the situation to collect details about Charlotte's health, daily habits, and likes. She observed the prenatal vitamins, the specific brand Charlotte used for her minor back pains, as well as the items stocked in the pantry. Vanessa feigned curiosity and support, asserting her fascination with all things pertaining to pregnancy. Charlotte, inherently trusting, perceived no problem in divulging information. However, the initial significant momentum of Vanessa's strategy emerged when she engaged a private investigator to uncover information regarding Ethan's business growth, his timetable, and his marital status. The investigator uncovered that Ethan had previously expressed a fascination with real estate opportunities in New York, a city that Vanessa cherished. For her, this represented a tactical edge. She proposed a concept to Ethan aimed at broadening his charitable and business influence in Manhattan. She emphasized the distinction it would bring to the Davenport brand. Ethan, captivated by the idea of a bicoastal empire, started making more frequent trips to New York, often joined by Vanessa, who was well-versed in the city's vibrant social scene. These journeys, though ostensibly professional, slowly evolved into something more intimate when the doors were shut. Vanessa adeptly leveraged Ethan's moments of solitude and tension for her own benefit. She would arrive with uplifting phrases, gentle gestures, and a constant willingness to listen. She convinced him that she, more than anyone else, truly grasped the weight of his struggles. She lauded him without restraint, drawing a comparison to Charlotte, whom she depicted as increasingly unavailable to support Ethan due to her pregnancy. She refrained from openly criticizing Charlotte. It was more of a subtle influence, a clever suggestion that Charlotte's pregnancy hindered her ability to support Ethan during these vital business developments. Ethan, in his unwavering commitment to his wife, started to perceive a nuanced change in his emotional terrain. He could never imagine taking Charlotte's place, yet there was an undeniable strength that surged within him whenever Vanessa was around. He began to link her with career achievements, progress, and a glamorous way of living that seemed worlds apart from the quiet moments spent perusing baby-name books at home. It was a gradual, subtle temptation, one that he neither faced nor scrutinized. In a moment brimming with tension, following an evening with New York investors, Vanessa found herself having indulged a bit too much in her drinks. She nestled against Ethan in the back of the limousine, softly expressing her longing to have crossed paths with him earlier. Her breath caressed his ear, warm and intimate, as her fingertips glided over his lapel, tears betraying the vulnerability hidden beneath her poised facade. Ethan found himself unarmed by the intimacy of the moment. He could see her eyes gleaming with what appeared to be admiration, or perhaps it was something more sinister. In that fleeting moment, the boundaries of loyalty faded away. He discovered his hand resting on hers, a gesture meant to provide solace, yet precariously flirting with the edge of an intimate betrayal. He caught himself just in time, preventing it from escalating further. He was engulfed by guilt. He withdrew, fumbling over his words, mentioning their fatigue and the necessity for some rest. Vanessa expressed regret, pretending to be flustered. Yet a sly smile played on her lips as she glanced toward the window. She felt a sense of fulfillment as she observed the seeds of uncertainty sprouting in Ethan's gaze. Upon returning to Bel Air, Charlotte started to observe shifts in Ethan's demeanor. He found himself away more frequently, journeying not only to New York but also embarking on unexpected excursions to Chicago, San Francisco, and even abroad with little warning. He was rather elusive regarding the specifics. Charlotte made an effort to be encouraging and empathetic, considering the circumstances. She knew Ethan's world well. Yet, as the months unfolded, an inexplicable distance began to emerge, deepening with each passing day. In the quiet hours of the night, Ethan would quietly slide into bed after the clock struck midnight, carrying with him the scent of cologne that wasn't his own, or sometimes the delicate hint of a perfume that wasn't Charlotte's. She attributed it to professional gatherings, women embracing him in salutation, the usual social interaction. Occasionally, she noticed him gazing at the ceiling, seemingly absorbed in his own reflections. Each time she attempted to engage him in conversation, he would divert her attention with tender kisses, softly conveying that she ought to let go of her worries. For the well-being of the little one. The weight of an unspoken secret hung in the air, as palpable as the heavy curtains that adorned their bedroom. One evening, Charlotte's worry intensified when she noticed that Ethan's phone, typically resting on the nightstand, was now being kept under close watch. He would carry it to the bathroom, slip it into his pocket whenever she walked in, or ignore calls as if they were junk. Charlotte typically respected privacy, yet an unsettling feeling gnawed at her insides. A tempest of unease haunted her slumber, conjuring visions of treachery in the dark. She longed to place her trust in her husband, yet the indications were unmistakable, shining at her like bright neon signs that demanded her attention. Vanessa, for her part, navigated her strategy with great precision. She would sometimes arrive at the Davenport mansion without warning, asserting that she had important papers for Ethan to examine. She lingered only to give the impression that she was fulfilling her duties. Whenever Charlotte showed up, Vanessa beamed with insincere warmth, grinning broadly, praising Charlotte's pregnancy glow, and bubbling with enthusiasm for the baby. It was utterly revolting. Charlotte made an effort to be courteous, but the discomfort that came with Vanessa's presence lingered in the air. There was an unsettling quality in Vanessa's gaze that sent a shiver down Charlotte's spine, though the reason eluded her. It was the final incident that ignited Charlotte's doubts, taking place one afternoon when a delivery arrived at the estate, a small, elegantly wrapped box bearing Ethan's name. It originated from a high-end jewelry boutique on Rodeo Drive. The label stated, "To Ethan Davenport with gratitude." Naturally, Charlotte presumed it was a corporate gesture from an associate or sponsor. Yet the gift receipt revealed an unexpected narrative, a gold chain bracelet adorned with the inscription ED and VC forever. Charlotte gazed at the elegant lettering, her heart racing, VC Vanessa Caldwell. Her thoughts spiraled in confusion. That day, she chose not to confront Ethan. Instead, she retreated to the master bathroom, sank onto the cool tiled floor, and let her tears flow. She found herself in a delicate state, filled with trepidation, unsure if her most profound anxieties were on the verge of becoming reality. She reassured herself that it might just be a simple mix-up, perhaps Vanessa had sent something to celebrate their collaboration. Yet that always seemed too close, too revealing. It was a clear expression of purpose. Upon Ethan's arrival, Charlotte intended to confront him directly regarding the gift. Yet, Ethan appeared weary, showing the signs of a long day, and his worry for Charlotte was evident, as she had been dealing with occasional bouts of mild morning sickness that occasionally struck her in the evening. He placed a tender hand on her belly, resting his forehead against hers, softly murmuring about his eagerness to embrace their child. In those moments, Charlotte's anger and doubts faded, eclipsed by her affection for him and her wish to preserve harmony for the baby's benefit, if for no other reason. And that was the moment Vanessa had anticipated, the instant when Charlotte would falter, filled with doubt, and more susceptible to influence. The femme fatale was ready to pounce, and an ominous tempest loomed ahead. As Charlotte stepped into her 7th month of pregnancy, unexpected complications began to surface. She expressed her struggles with ongoing headaches and episodes of dizziness. Her physician, a distinguished specialist at Cedars-Sinai, advised her to prioritize rest and maintain low stress levels. Ethan, paradoxically driven by remorse, urged her to refrain from participating in social gatherings. Even though Charlotte voiced her mild objections, her disdain for feeling powerless led her to ultimately give in to bed rest for the sake of the baby's health. Vanessa embraced this moment. As Charlotte remained mostly within the estate's confines and Ethan was often away on his travels, she discovered methods to weave herself more intricately into the fabric of Ethan's personal life. Whenever Ethan took to the skies for work, Vanessa made it a point to be on the same flight or to serendipitously land in the same city. Upon their return to Los Angeles, Vanessa planned to rendezvous with him at his office, cloaked in the guise of pressing PR concerns. She would tease just enough to keep him intrigued, yet always hold back to preserve the suspense. It was a meticulously crafted performance of allure, intended to make Ethan reevaluate his allegiances while still holding on to his ethical principles. Ethan found himself ensnared in a tangle of opposing feelings. He cherished Charlotte, she was his beloved wife and the mother of their child. Yet, the strain of managing a flourishing empire alongside a growing family bore down on him, and Vanessa's company offered a forbidden excitement that momentarily dulled the burdens. Though he hadn't fully crossed the threshold into a physical affair, he was acutely aware that he was emotionally intertwined with her. The guilt wrapped around him like a creeping shadow, yet her allure was impossible to resist. In the meantime, Charlotte, grappling with enigmatic headaches and bouts of dizziness, received a prescription for mild medication from her obstetrician. Vanessa, as shrewd as ever, recognized the ideal opportunity. Her past visits to the Davenport home had equipped her with the knowledge of where Charlotte stored her medicine. Charlotte followed a straightforward routine. Each morning, she would take her prenatal vitamins along with this new prescription pill. Vanessa formed a friendship with a member of the housekeeping team at the Davenport mansion, a naive young woman who was struggling to find extra funds for her family's medical expenses. Vanessa skillfully exploited a weakness. Offering a substantial amount of money, Vanessa instructs the housekeeper to discreetly add small, colorless powders to Charlotte's morning juice or water. She reassured the housekeeper that it was innocuous, attributing it to a physician's suggested herbal remedy. The housekeeper, innocent and impressionable, convinced herself that if it came from someone dear to Mr. Davenport, it had to be genuine. In reality, the powders were unregulated sedatives and gentle tranquilizers. The aim was never to take a life. Charlotte Vanessa understood that it would be overly drastic, far too perilous. She desired her removal from the scene, subtly and unavoidably. If Charlotte's health worsened, Ethan could start to view her as someone incapable, a weight on his shoulders. There was a chance he could lose the child, or Charlotte's pregnancy might become too complicated to carry on. In Vanessa's warped reasoning, eliminating the hindrance of the child would liberate Ethan. If Charlotte were to become incapacitated, whether through physical weakness or mental instability, the marriage would inevitably crumble under the pressure. Vanessa might gracefully step in as the encouraging figure beside Ethan. And amidst the turmoil, if Charlotte were to lose the baby, then that would simply be the way of things. Slowly, Charlotte's condition deteriorated. She started to lose consciousness, her body quaking, her pulse quickening at unusual times. She awoke in a haze, at times losing track of whole discussions. The physicians found themselves in a state of confusion. No significant abnormalities were found in her routine tests. They conducted scans, yet everything appeared to be normal, except for slight fatigue and low blood pressure. Charlotte was engulfed by a sense of helplessness and fear. What could possibly be the reason for this occurring at such a critical moment, right before the deadline? Ethan, caught in the struggle between his professional obligations and his wife's enigmatic health issues, devoted more time to being at home. He called off several important trips and insisted that the top specialists assess her. Throughout this period, Vanessa frequently reached out to him, occasionally appearing with thoughtful get-well-soon flowers in hand. If Charlotte were awake, Vanessa would wear a worried, nearly tearful look. Yet, when Charlotte's gaze wandered, a victorious sparkle flickered in Vanessa's eyes. On a Thursday afternoon, the tension escalated to a critical level. Charlotte, ghostly and quaking, fell to the floor of the mansion foyer. As she made her way to the living room, a sudden weakness overtook her, causing her knees to give way beneath her. The team hurried to assist her. Ethan, working from home that day, was at her side in seconds. He lifted her effortlessly, tuning out the chaotic cries that surrounded them. She hovered on the edge of awareness, droplets of sweat glistening on her brow. A call was made for an ambulance. As they raced toward Cedars-Sinai, Charlotte's breath came in shallow, labored gasps. Ethan whispered her name repeatedly, his voice quivering with emotion. Her eyes briefly opened, meeting his gaze. She murmured through parched lips, "Please, save our baby," before darkness enveloped her again. In that harrowing instant, guilt and fear overwhelmed Ethan. He had fallen short of the husband he should have been, and now his wife and unborn child faced grave danger. Had he only realized that the real danger didn't stem from the unpredictable whims of destiny, but instead from a woman he had permitted to draw near to his soul. Charlotte was swiftly brought into the emergency section of Cedars-Sinai. Dr. Marianne Holt, her obstetrician, promptly requested tests. It was revealed that her blood pressure had dropped to alarming levels, and her body exhibited indications of abnormal sedation. However, she had not indicated that she was taking any additional medication apart from what had been prescribed by Dr. Holt. As Charlotte rested in her hospital bed, teetering on the edge of consciousness, a team of specialists diligently sought answers over the next hour. They explored every avenue: preeclampsia, gestational diabetes, and even the more uncommon autoimmune conditions. However, the laboratory findings indicated the presence of an unfamiliar substance in her bloodstream. Minor remnants of tranquilizers, which are generally not recommended for expectant mothers, were detected. This was a warning sign. Ethan, in a state of turmoil and urgency, searched his mind for clues. He became aware that Charlotte had been expressing concerns about her medication feeling unusual lately. She mentioned it left her feeling lightheaded, yet Dr. Holt's prescription was typical and gentle. There was an additional element coursing through her veins. Resolute in his commitment to safeguard Charlotte, Ethan insisted on an inquiry. He inquired with the staff at the mansion to remember any peculiar occurrences, any questionable deliveries, or anything that could have disrupted Charlotte's routine. The young housekeeper was the one who faltered beneath the weight of expectations. Overcome by the harrowing experience and the remorse eating away at her soul, she revealed all to Ethan and the officials. She confessed to accepting funds from Vanessa Caldwell to blend substances into Charlotte's beverages. The housekeeper's face was awash with tears as she recounted how Vanessa had deftly played her with quick money, insisting it was a benign herbal remedy that would soothe Charlotte's nerves. She had no idea she was unwittingly playing a role in something so dark. Ethan absorbed the scene with a mix of dread, his hands balled into fists, his jaw set in determination. The employees nearby quaked under the weight of his wrath. As soon as the confession concluded, Ethan's whole attitude shifted. He appeared to have aged decades in mere hours, his eyes darkened by feelings of betrayal and fury. He instructed security to remove the housekeeper from the premises once she had completed her conversation with the police. He subsequently called his leading legal advisors and insisted on understanding the procedure for filing charges. He dialed Vanessa Caldwell's number next. Silence lingered in the air. As Charlotte began to stabilize in the ICU, Ethan found himself standing solitary in the hospital corridor. The sleek floors and the buzz of fluorescent lights overhead created a sensation that the world had shrunk to a mere point. He leaned his forehead against the glass window, staring at Charlotte connected to the fourth drips and monitors. Their baby was still alive, but the doctors cautioned that Charlotte had to stay under careful watch. The onset of premature labor had become a significant worry at this point. In that moment, Ethan understood the profound significance of what had occurred. He allowed a woman to weave her way into his existence, creating a rift between him and the one individual who held the utmost significance. He experienced a deep sense of shame for allowing Vanessa to draw near. Her existence in his life felt like a betrayal to Charlotte, despite the fact that he had never acted on the affair. With trembling hands, he reached for the phone to call Vanessa once more. This time, she responded, but before she could utter a word, Ethan unleashed a torrent of accusations. His voice echoed through the corridor, capturing the attention of nurses and patients alike as they cast inquisitive looks his way. "You drugged my wife. She's in the hospital, you lunatic," he shouted. His voice trembled, a mix of fury and sorrow. Vanessa attempted to react, pretending to be taken aback, before swiftly moving into a state of denial. As soon as Ethan brought up the housekeeper's confession, Vanessa abruptly terminated the call. Ethan remained rooted to the spot, phone clutched tightly, sensing that the ground beneath him could fracture at any moment. The woman he had foolishly relied on for business growth, the one who had infiltrated his personal life, had attempted to take the life of his unborn child, or, at the very least, undermine the pregnancy. The question pounded relentlessly in his thoughts: why? There is no justification that could rationalize such malevolence. Authorities swiftly intervened. The following 12 hours passed in a haze. Ethan provided a statement. The housekeeper took the stand, while the detectives set out to find Vanessa. It seemed she had abandoned her apartment. Her phone lay silent, and the whereabouts of her departure remained a mystery to all. Yet Ethan understood that she wouldn't disappear for good. She possessed an excess of cunning and an overwhelming sense of pride. Somewhere, she would be devising her next strategy. In that moment, Charlotte stirred, her hold on reality delicately tenuous. She grasped Ethan's hand tightly, her eyes filled with trepidation. "Is it the baby?" she whispered. "We're doing everything we can," Ethan said, his voice soft and gentle. He leaned in, his forehead resting against hers, emotions bubbling just beneath the surface. "I deeply apologize, Charlotte. I never intended for any of this," his voice faltered, caught in the weight of unspoken truths. He struggled to reveal the depth of his connection with Vanessa, the way loyalty had become a tangled web, how his own frailties had fueled her aspirations. Tears of despair welled in Charlotte's eyes. She nodded slowly, and for a moment, Ethan sensed their connection, hurt yet intact. The love they held was genuine and profound, even amidst the burden of betrayal. Vanessa Caldwell had not anticipated the rapid turn of events. She had intended to administer just enough to Charlotte to stir up trouble, not to land her in the hospital with a whole team of detectives investigating. A wave of panic washed over her as she understood that the housekeeper's confession was a certain consequence once the doctors discovered the tranquilizers. Vanessa was running out of time. She escaped her apartment in West Hollywood, discarded her phone and credit cards, and boarded a bus to San Diego, paying for the ticket in cash. She reserved a week-long stay at a humble hotel under an alias. Her pride was wounded at having to forego her typical luxury lodgings, but desperation offered her no alternative. She endured restless nights glued to the news, bracing for the moment her face would be broadcast on every channel, wanted in connection to the attempted murder of a pregnant woman. Yet, to her astonishment and uneasy relief, the story had not yet broken into the mainstream. Perhaps Ethan was managing the media, aiming to shield his wife and unborn child from a scandal that could bring them harm. Amidst the tension, Vanessa struggled to suppress the bitterness that lingered within her. She viewed herself as the rightful partner of Ethan Davenport, wishing that Charlotte had never come into the picture. Had she just been granted a little more time? Vanessa was convinced that the plan could have succeeded had the situation unfolded in another way. She was unwilling to shoulder all the blame, even convincing herself that Charlotte had contributed to her own suffering. This convoluted rationale compelled her to reach for her phone repeatedly, only to recall that she had thrown it away. She was a runaway in every sense except for her legal identity. 3 days into her concealment, she noticed a missed call on her new burner phone, a call from an unfamiliar number. Her heart raced with the possibility that it could be Ethan, seeking her out, yearning for answers. She answered the call, but the line was silent. In her anxiety, she feared it might be the police or a private investigator on her trail. Fear and rage clashed inside her, and for the first time, she understood the gravity of her errors. Perhaps it had escalated beyond control. Vanessa began reaching out to acquaintances, seeking favors for hush money to escape or acquire a forged passport. Most of them refused, nobody wanted to be implicated. She had burned too many bridges with her manipulative ways and was now alone in her downfall. In the still hours of night, haunted by the knowledge that her life in Los Angeles was over, Vanessa wrestled with a grim question. Should I go back and confront what awaits me? The other option was to exist as a fugitive, perpetually glancing back in fear. She envisioned a reality where her name was eternally tarnished, her career in public relations shattered, her aspirations for wealth and recognition turned to dust. The cruel twist was that the harder she tried to escape, the more her guilt seemed to intensify. Yet she wasn't prepared to give in. She continued to harbor a misguided hope that Ethan would step in, that he might feel sorry for her, or at the very least, offer her something to vanish. This notion kept her holding on to a flicker of potential, even as she descended further into the abyss of her own creation. Meanwhile, Charlotte's condition stabilized under strict medical supervision. She had to be hospitalized for the remainder of her pregnancy. The baby, a girl, remained under critical watch but displayed promising vital signs. The doctors recommended total bed rest, minimal stress, and a carefully managed environment. Charlotte, despite her evident frailty, discovered a fresh resolve to safeguard her child. She dedicated hours daily to envisioning the moment she would hold her daughter for the first time, treasuring the idea that this small life inside her had endured such cruelty and remained unyielding. Ethan remained by Charlotte's bedside, tirelessly orchestrating a discreet yet relentless search for Vanessa. He brought in elite private investigators and kept a close line of communication with the police. The housekeeper, aware of the legal consequences, fully cooperated in hopes of receiving leniency. Through her testimony, law enforcement built a strong case against Vanessa Caldwell. The charges included assault with a deadly weapon, specifically a harmful sedative administered to a pregnant woman, as well as attempted homicide of an unborn child. A few weeks later, a breakthrough occurred when a private investigator uncovered Vanessa's pattern of withdrawing small amounts of cash from various ATMs near the San Diego border. A stakeout revealed her whereabouts at a dilapidated motel along the interstate. Authorities descended in numbers, sealing off every possible exit. Vanessa, sensing the futility of escape, emerged from her room, her hair in disarray and her eyes frantic. She held tightly to a small suitcase, likely filled with the final traces of her dubious earnings. With a feeble attempt at asserting her innocence, she was swiftly taken into custody. The media, having received only scant information up to that point, eagerly seized the opportunity to cover the story following Vanessa's arrest. Media channels showcased her image prominently, branding her as the mistress turned poisoner with eye-catching headlines. Ethan, despite his desire to shield Charlotte's privacy, stood before the cameras to deliver a concise statement. He expressed gratitude to the authorities, reiterated his dedication to pursuing justice, and requested prayers for the healing of his wife and child. He declined to respond to any inquiries about the specifics of his personal connection with Vanessa. Meanwhile, Charlotte, still in the hospital, observed the coverage on a muted television. Her feelings oscillated between relief and anger, relief that Vanessa had been apprehended, and anger that the situation had escalated to this point. For the first time since the scandal erupted, she faced Ethan. "Tell me everything," she urged, her voice trembling as tears welled in her eyes. "I must understand the depth of your connection." Ethan's gaze fell to the ground, a heavy burden of remorse weighing on him. "I never shared a bed with her," he murmured, his voice quaking. "Yet, I allowed her to draw near. We embarked on business journeys together. I permitted her to flirt, and I take responsibility for that. I ought to have severed the ties, recognized the red flags. Yet, I acted out of selfishness and naivety. I wished to convince myself it was innocuous, but it truly wasn't. And you nearly sacrificed everything for my foolishness, for your life and our baby's life." Charlotte fought against her tears, wrestling with the anguish of betrayal. Still, she recognized that Ethan had remained by her side throughout the turmoil, that his regret was sincere. "I feel so lost," she admitted, wiping her wet cheeks. Ethan sank onto the bed beside her, careful to avoid tangling the fourth tubes. He wrapped his arms around her. "I understand. I know I haven't earned your forgiveness. All I can offer is my presence for you and our daughter. If you allow me, I will dedicate my life to making amends." In that instant, Charlotte recognized the man she had once loved, burdened by a misstep that almost tore their family apart. Her heart was filled with a mix of love and grief, hope and weariness. She closed her eyes, allowing his warmth to wrap around her, finding comfort in the hope that perhaps, just perhaps, they could mend. Vanessa's trial transformed into a sensational media spectacle, attracting a flood of reporters, bloggers, and social media pundits who converged on the Los Angeles County Superior Court. Headlines branded her with labels ranging from the poisoning mistress to the ruthless vixen of Bel-Air, casting the once revered PR consultant into the harshest kind of limelight. As the days unfolded, increasingly shocking revelations captivated the public, drawing them deeper into the drama of wealth, betrayal, and the corruption of power. Within the crowded courtroom, the atmosphere crackled with intensity. Prosecutors laid out a compelling case, starting with the housekeeper's heartfelt testimony. Pale-faced and trembling, she recounted how Vanessa had lured her into the scheme with promises of easy money. A forensic toxicologist then took the stand, detailing exactly how the tranquilizers found in Charlotte's system were harmful to both mother and unborn child. Each piece of evidence underscored the seriousness of Vanessa's actions. This was not an impulsive act, but rather a meticulously planned effort to eliminate an inconvenient barrier. Testimony from numerous witnesses painted a picture of Vanessa's cunning demeanor. Corporate leaders recounted her peculiar intimacy with Ethan during their business travels away from home. A former colleague from her PR firm revealed that Vanessa frequently boasted about securing an influential partner to boost her career. Even acquaintances from high society gala events she had helped organize remembered overhearing her comments. Vanessa's barely concealed resentment towards Charlotte, whom she viewed as fortunate for having found the ideal husband, contributed to a portrayal of a woman motivated by envy and entitlement rather than simple desperation. Ethan's moment on the witness stand was particularly poignant. Despite maintaining his composure, the anguish in his eyes was evident. He recounted Vanessa's sly encroachment into his personal life, detailing how she methodically separated him from Charlotte by taking advantage of the pressures of work. Every revelation highlighted the peril of misjudging a seemingly loyal companion. The courtroom was enveloped in silence as Ethan recounted his shock upon discovering that Charlotte had been systematically drugged, his voice faltering as he described the abhorrent actions. Vanessa's defense team attempted to weave a tale of emotional fragility, portraying her as a casualty of Ethan's affluence and influence. They asserted that she was motivated by heartbreak and simply offered benign herbal supplements to ease Charlotte's pregnancy-related anxiety. They even suggested that Charlotte had been overstating her symptoms, as if she had concocted an intricate scheme to implicate Vanessa. Yet, the jury discerned the flimsy deceptions. The chemical makeup of the tranquilizers was undeniable, and the incriminating text messages and financial records were clear. As the trial approached its end, the prosecution presented a powerful closing argument. They appealed to the shared belief that an unborn child represents one of the most defenseless victims of all. Vanessa's actions were portrayed as an affront not only to Charlotte but to the very essence of existence. As the prosecutor concluded, the atmosphere in the courtroom was thick with fury and sorrow for a family on the brink of devastation due to one woman's fixation. When the verdict was announced, declaring her guilty on several counts, including the attempted murder of an unborn child, Vanessa seemed momentarily taken aback. Her eyes sparkled with an unusual defiance, suggesting a lingering belief that she had been wronged. The judge, steadfast in her condemnation, delivered a lengthy prison sentence, emphasizing Vanessa's premeditation and the cruelty of her actions as reasons for the lack of mercy. The sound of the gavel resonated with finality, akin to the slamming of a door that sealed Vanessa's fate. Outside the courthouse, reporters clamored for answers regarding Ethan and Charlotte's response. Cameras clicked incessantly, documenting every tired crease on Ethan's face. His remarks were succinct. He expressed gratitude towards law enforcement and the judicial system for ensuring justice, emphasized his relief that Charlotte and their baby were safe, and requested privacy as they embarked on their healing journey. Turning away from the turmoil, he left the crowd pondering how a man once celebrated for his steadfastness had come so close to losing everything to a trusted ally turned would-be assassin. However, for Vanessa, the true reckoning of fate did not manifest in the courtroom, but rather in her own life. From a holding cell, she reached out with urgency to old contacts, yearning for someone to post bail or offer a shred of sympathy. She dialed her father, a powerful businessman who had previously turned his back on her mother, leaving Vanessa to navigate life alone, yet she clung to the hope that his resources could still rescue her. Instead, she was met with a terse rejection. He sought to distance himself from the chaos she had orchestrated. His treachery reflected the deep-seated abandonment Vanessa had fought against her whole life. One after another, the avenues of support closed off. Previous associates turned a cold shoulder, hesitant to compromise their standing by supporting someone with a criminal record. Those in the know, who had once respected her public relations skills, now recoiled at the mention of her name, scrubbing any trace of her from their circles. The connections she had built through charm and self-interest faded away. Vanessa had dedicated years to mastering the craft of deceit, only to discover that when her web of falsehoods unraveled, there was no one remaining to salvage what was lost. Clad in a prison jumpsuit and gazing through iron bars, she came to understand the extent of the ruin she had wrought upon her existence. It was a stark revelation about the repercussions of unbridled ambition and jealousy. In the solitude of her cell, the nights unfolded like a relentless tide of remorse. She found herself surrounded by the lingering whispers of her past aspirations and the chilling realization that she had brought about her own downfall. The woman who once envisioned winning a millionaire's affection and basking in opulence now resided in a bleak, desolate confinement, completely abandoned by the society she had desperately sought to infiltrate. Vanessa Caldwell's narrative unfolded as a stark warning of treachery and fixation, an everlasting testament that no plan, however clever, can shield one from the unyielding grip of fate. Silence enveloped the hospital corridor as Charlotte held her newborn daughter for the first time. After enduring months of doubt, her embrace finally enveloped Amelia Davenport, small, flawless, and blissfully untouched by Vanessa's malevolent scheme. The gentle hues of the maternity ward had borne witness to innumerable tales of life and renewal, but the wonder of this specific moment resonated deeply. The soft glow of the lamp highlighted Charlotte's tear-stained cheeks as she admired Amelia's delicate fluttering eyelashes. A wave of gratitude washed over her, so powerful it left her momentarily breathless. Ethan stood beside her, captivated, his heart a tumultuous mix of guilt and love. He had nearly lost them both. In recent months, the hospital had transformed into their second home, a battleground where Charlotte confronted the sedatives that nearly took her life, and where Amelia struggled for stability in the womb. As Amelia lay peacefully in her mother's arms, Ethan felt the tears flow freely down his face. He extended a shaking hand to caress his daughter's delicate curls, vowing in silence to protect her from any future harm. Meanwhile, Charlotte's extended time in the hospital coincided with a tumultuous world outside, filled with scandal. Journalists swarmed the Davenport mansion, eager for any fresh perspective on Vanessa Caldwell's arrest and trial. Yet, within these confines, surrounded by the rhythmic beeping of medical equipment and the soft murmurs of nurses, Charlotte and Ethan discovered a profound, unvoiced connection. They both understood how swiftly life's most cherished treasures could vanish when trust was shattered and malevolence was permitted to thrive. Upon Charlotte's return home, she found the world outside the hospital to be oddly foreign. The echoes of her collapse haunted the mansion's hallways, and she recoiled at the sight of the foyer floor where she had fainted. The staff, though caring, moved with caution, fearful of provoking her or bringing back memories of the ordeal. The very flavor of the juice in the mornings caused her stomach to twist in knots. She couldn't shake the memory of how effortlessly Vanessa's toxin had been introduced into her drink. The transformations in Ethan were just as shocking. He had always been a determined entrepreneur, his focus set on the next acquisition or investment. But now he was adamant about taking time off, and trusting significant business duties to a reliable team of executives. Each morning, instead of hurrying out to meet with high-profile clients, he would sit with Charlotte in the nursery, cradling Amelia while Charlotte enjoyed a light breakfast. He would read baby books, occasionally fumbling through whimsical lullabies, all in a bid to connect with his daughter. These instances felt gentle and were a stark contrast to the corporate deals and towering cityscapes that had once dominated his life. Yet, every now and then, guilt would flicker across Ethan's face, betraying the weight he bore. He had permitted Vanessa to lead him to the brink of destruction, nearly jeopardizing Charlotte and Amelia's lives. When Charlotte suggested marriage counseling, he consented immediately, eager to rectify his mistakes and regain the trust he had so recklessly put at risk. Their initial therapy session occurred 2 weeks after Amelia's arrival. The therapist's office was a snug retreat in a serene Beverly Hills practice, adorned with gentle blues and whites, crafted to be a sanctuary from the chaos of cameras and headlines. Charlotte held a small blanket belonging to Amelia as she spoke, her voice laced with anxiety. She admitted feeling conflicted. On one hand, she cherished Ethan profoundly. On the other hand, she felt a deep sense of betrayal regarding the emotional connection he had fostered with Vanessa. Ethan listened intently, at times unable to meet her gaze. He recounted how Vanessa's flattering words had captivated him during a time of significant professional and personal turmoil. Despite his firm insistence that he never engaged in physical infidelity, he recognized that emotional betrayal could inflict equal harm. Their therapist carefully facilitated conversations about boundaries, forgiveness, and the necessary actions to restore what had been fractured. Difficult truths came to light. Charlotte confessed that there were moments when Ethan's achievements made her feel less significant, and she feared she lacked the allure to maintain his interest. Ethan, on the other hand, revealed that he was drawn to Vanessa's ambition, as it echoed his own relentless pursuit of success. Charlotte, with her tender spirit, did not resonate with that ambition. It was an unfiltered clash with realities they had long kept silent. Week after week, they discovered how to traverse the complexities of trust anew. They honed the art of candid dialogue, eliminating secretive phone calls and late-night business trips devoid of clear planning. Ethan vowed to take responsibility for his actions, not out of submission, but as a mark of respect and comfort for Charlotte. In exchange, Charlotte endeavored to release the anxiety that surged whenever he was out of her view, recognizing that relentless doubt could erode the remnants of their connection. As summer transitioned into early autumn, a subtle change unfolded within the Davenport mansion. The oppressive weight gradually eased, giving way to the comforting glow of fresh opportunities. With the conclusion of Vanessa's trial, the frenzy of the media subsided, and the estate's entrance was no longer crowded with photographers. Neighbors who had previously exchanged hushed gossip now visited with gifts for the baby and bouquets, keen to express their encouragement. Yet, not all restoration occurred in secrecy. Charlotte, having faced the depths of betrayal, felt an urgent calling to prevent others from suffering the same horrors she had endured. She collaborated with Cedars-Sinai Hospital to launch a program focused on informing expectant mothers about the indicators of poisoning, domestic abuse, and financial or emotional coercion. Drawing from her experience in event planning, she orchestrated benefit dinners and public talks, aiming to illuminate the ease with which a predator like Vanessa could function without restraint. At the inaugural major fundraiser, Charlotte stood poised behind a lectern in a sophisticated black gown, a small pendant with Amelia's name resting around her neck. The audience hung on her every word as she shared her harrowing encounter with death, detailing the dizzy spells and fainting episodes that intensified until she found herself in the hospital, battling for her baby's life. Her eyes brimmed with raw tears as she pleaded with the crowd to never overlook their instincts or justify questionable actions. The applause that followed was deafening, with numerous attendees dabbing at their own tears. In the midst of it all, Ethan dedicated himself to championing Charlotte's cause. He contributed substantial resources from Davenport Industries to enhance hospital initiatives, providing protective services for at-risk women. Driven by his own remorse, he established a scholarship in Amelia's honor to educate aspiring investigators in forensic toxicology. He had discovered, through painful experience, that ignorance could have fatal consequences. His charitable actions attracted favorable media coverage, aiding in the revival of the Davenport brand's diminished reputation. Beyond that, it provided Ethan with a feeling of redemption. He was resolute in his commitment to wield his power and influence for positive change, even if it was partially to make amends for his part in allowing Vanessa to enter their lives. As the months rolled by, Amelia blossomed into a lively infant, her coos and gurgles filled with an irresistible curiosity. One day, Charlotte discovered a letter in the mail from a women's correctional facility. The name on the sender's address sent a chill through her veins, Vanessa Caldwell. Within the carefully arranged pages, Vanessa sought to articulate her feelings, asserting that desperation had propelled her actions, the shadow of her father's abandonment loomed large, and an intense admiration for Ethan's achievements had clouded her judgment. She expressed remorse for the hurt she inflicted. Yet, the letter revealed remnants of Vanessa's typical tactics, entreaties for empathy, understated references to her own anguish, and a call for forgiveness when circumstances permitted. Charlotte read the entire letter in one sitting, her hands trembling. A part of her yearned to tear it apart and discard it, yet another part experienced a strange sense of resolution. Vanessa had inflicted unimaginable pain, but perhaps this letter represented a step, whether sincere or self-serving, toward recognizing her wrongdoings. Charlotte opted for silence. She carefully placed the letter in a sealed box, finding solace in the fact that the woman who had attempted to harm her child was imprisoned, incapable of inflicting pain on anyone else. When she shared this with Ethan, he tensed, his jaw tightening. He inquired whether she felt any sense of threat, but Charlotte simply shook her head. This time, fear did not seize her. She had traversed through flames and emerged not just alive, but more resilient than Vanessa could ever understand. As Amelia's first birthday approached, the Davenport mansion buzzed with a happiness that had been absent for far too long. Pink and white balloons decorated the entrance, a modest chocolate cake took pride of place on the dining table, and dear friends and family came together for a heartfelt celebration. Gone were the days of paparazzi crowding for a photo, this occasion welcomed only true supporters. Laughter filled the living room, intertwining with Amelia's joyful giggles as she eagerly reached for ribbons and bows. Charlotte, radiating health and happiness, wore a gentle smile while observing Ethan crouch beside Amelia's high chair, guiding their daughter as she attempted to cut the cake with her small hands. Though shadows of past trauma lingered in her thoughts, she discovered comfort in the way love could restore a space once overshadowed by betrayal. A short distance away, Charlotte's father engaged in conversation with some of her closest friends, beaming as he displayed pictures of his granddaughter. Even Ethan's mother, who had previously harbored doubts about Charlotte's origins, seemed to embrace the moment, showering Amelia with sincere affection. During the festivities, Ethan softly led Charlotte away for a moment of privacy. The guests were preoccupied with admiring the baby, allowing him and Charlotte a private moment in a serene corner of the sunlit garden. He took her hand gently. "I want you to understand," he started, his tone sincere, "that every vow I made to improve, to be deserving of you and Amelia, I hold those with utmost seriousness. I will always remember how near we were to losing it all." Charlotte looked at him, recalling the sleepless nights in the hospital, the tears she cried, and the therapy sessions that exposed their most profound scars. But the man in front of her now was not the same one who had previously dismissed her worries for the sake of his career. His eyes held a humility she had never encountered before. Within them, she perceived regret, yes, but also love, hope, and a resolve to evolve. "I believe you," she murmured. "We will continue to rebuild, step by step, side by side." Their fingers stayed linked as they rejoined the celebrations, welcomed by the joyful whirlwind of a toddler's birthday party. Amelia squealed with glee as she spread icing across her face, unaware of the challenges her parents had faced. For Charlotte and Ethan, that innocent laughter resonated like the most beautiful symphony. It served as a reminder that even in the darkest moments, love and resilience could illuminate the way forward. In the future, they would reflect on this day as a pivotal moment, the choice to rise above Vanessa Caldwell's betrayal and embrace the unyielding strength of a bond that, though once on the brink of destruction, remained unbroken. As Amelia chattered away with playful sounds that echoed the familiar rhythms of "Dada" and "Mama," their eyes sparkled with appreciation for the life they had fought to regain. The future lay before them, an untouched canvas ready to be filled with a narrative of healing, togetherness, and steadfast love, a family revitalized from the remnants of past hurts. Ultimately, love and strength prevailed against the shadows of betrayal. Charlotte and Ethan Davenport found that even amidst profound betrayals and significant threats to their family, hope persists. Their daughter, Amelia, embodies the idea that life can flourish in the midst of hardship. Vanessa Caldwell, fueled by jealousy and avarice, ultimately confronted the heavy consequences of her actions, demonstrating that no deception stays concealed indefinitely. Thank you for engaging with this compelling narrative of ambition gone awry, profound betrayal, and the enduring strength of love. If Charlotte's courage, Ethan's transformation, or the shocking revelations of Vanessa's scheme resonated with you, we encourage you to express your support. Please consider liking this video, sharing it with friends who appreciate intense real-life stories, and subscribing to our channel for more enthralling narratives. Your involvement allows us to keep delivering narratives that motivate, warn, and captivate your attention.